Have you seen them? Brilliant colors, encased in moisture, emerge from the deep. Moisture with lip color, revealing rich rubies, pink pearls, glowing corals, colors drenched in the riches of vitamin E, saturated in precious aloe. So waves of protective color keep your lips superbly conditioned. Moisture with lip color.
Smart, beautiful.
Very moist. Very moist.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Trash Bag Theater. Today I will be reviewing the April 26th, 2021 episode of Raw. So we start off right out of the gate, a recap from last week's angle with T-Bar, Mace, and Braun and Drew. We see all that again. We get a little backstage promo with Mace and T-Bar. They've got their own Create a Wrestler face paint on. They've got some generic face paint on. Braun playing the role of Drew McIntyre from last week's episode, and he wants a handicapped match against Mace and T-Bar. He wants to prove that he can do what Drew couldn't do and beat up both Mace and T-Bar at the same time. So our first match is a handicap match, and predictably, Braun starts getting beat up by the two, and Drew has to come out and save him. And so that we get a reversal of roles. We come back from a commercial, and it's a tag match. And the finish for this one, everybody gets dumped outside. Everybody's outside the ring, and the 10 count is going, and T-Bar manages to get back into the ring right before the 10 count, and they win by count out. So that's our finish for our first match. Braun and Drew get into it some more, and Braun ends up power slamming Drew. And so in our backstage Adam Pearce segment, Drew wants a match with Braun. Our next segment is another episode of Miz TV, and we have Miz, Johnny Drip Drip, we got Elias, Jackson Riker, and they all start with their groan-worthy rendition, an unplugged version of Hey Hey Hop Hop, but thankfully, eventually, Damian Priest comes and he interrupts them, and then the New Day come out, and Xavier Woods, he's carrying his guitar case. He's really selling it, or he might not have been selling it, it might have actually been heavy, because inside his guitar case, he has a bunch of tomatoes, and they start throwing tomatoes at the Miz and everybody in the ring. So our second match is a 6-man tag, the New Day and Priest versus Miz, Morrison, and Riker. The faces dominate for the beginning portion of the match. Eventually Kofi gets pulled from the turnbuckle onto the outside and beat up on Kofi for a while. There are a couple of hot tags. Priest comes in. He has a lot of nice kicks and sweep kicks and all kinds of stuff like that. And the New Day and Priest end up getting the pin with Woods with an inside cradle on Riker. This was a very active match. There's a lot of stuff going on in this high energy match, and generally it was pretty enjoyable, right? The New Day, always love to see the New Day. Damian Priest, he's pretty awesome. The Miz doing his Miz thing. So overall, a pretty decent match. I enjoyed it. Then we see Daddy DeVille looking fresh, looking cut in that suit, and she's walking backstage, and she goes and she finds Charlotte, who, as many people, myself included, would have predicted, Charlotte Flair, that whole angle with her getting suspended, very quickly done away with. They come to the ring. Sonya Deville announces Charlotte Flair. She comes out. We have sort of a public apology by Flair. And the way this is presented by everybody, especially Flair, but also Deville, and by the referee that she assaulted last week, this is sort of a very contrived sort of public apology. Charlotte even makes Eddie Oringo apologize to her for not seeing the interference by Rhea. So Charlotte Flair gets reinstated, and Eddie Oringo even holds the ropes for her when she exits the ring. So a lot of character work being done here. I mean, to completely just sort of swerve away from this suspension angle, they did it in a way that it at least built up the character, right? We're really seeing this self-centered Charlotte Flair. She has clearly she has support from Sonya Deville. She's got a GM in her pocket, so that's kind of a new development. She's also, I guess, sort of got a referee in her pocket now. I guess the implication here is that perhaps she paid off Eddie Oringo, and that's why we had this little display of fake apology or insincere apology. So we learn backstage Pierce was uninformed of Sonya's decision to reinstate Flair. We get another segment, Pierce and Braun. Braun says he wants a shot at the belt. So he wants a number 1 contender match. He wants a title shot. If he beats Drew tonight, he will be entered into a triple threat. I think it's a triple threat now for the belt between Drew, Braun, and Bobby Lashley. We get a Sheamus segment. He comes back out to the ring. He talks about blah 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 blah. He's we get the replay of him beating up Humberto Carrillo from last week, and then he once again calls out people to come and take a shot at him, but that he's not putting his title on the line. And so out again comes Humberto Carrillo. He comes to the ring. Sheamus once again cheap shots him, beats him up for a bit, but this time Carrillo fights back. He's able to dump him outside the ring. Then he hits a suicide dive, and Sheamus is splayed out across the announce table, and he looks shocked. So this is clearly going to be an ongoing angle now between Sheamus and Carrillo, and that's it. That's all we see of Sheamus for tonight. Backstage, MVP and Lashley, they're upset that they were not consulted about the decision to change the contendership between Drew and Braun, right? That match that they're having later on tonight that would enter Braun into a title shot. They're upset and they consider it disrespectful that they were not consulted on this before it happened. And now, a surprise of all surprises, a backstage segment with Riddle that I actually liked. I actually liked this. Riddle being interviewed backstage. He's talking about Randy Orton being a developer and the Apex Predator, and he calls himself a sexy little mongoose, which I laughed at that line, which it's rare that I actually laugh at Riddle. It's rare that I actually do that. Randy Orton comes out, he's talking to Riddle, and says, I don't know what planet you're from. And Riddle says, I'm from Earth. And once again, I laughed twice. I laughed twice at a Riddle segment. It's I don't know, maybe it's something in the air or something. I don't know. But I like this angle. I like this angle between Orton and Riddle. And so they decided to actually act as a tag team. The RK Bro tag team suggested by Riddle last week, and they're both from Earth, so it's great to see them working together. Some more backstage segments furthering on the storylines. We see another replay of the Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, Jax angle from last week. We see Jax, Shayna, and Reginald backstage. Jax gets some flowers, and at first she thinks they're from Reginald, but they're not. They're from Angel Garza. And so she gets some flowers, and they're walking backstage, and then they come by Mandy and Dana, and Jax hits Mandy with the flowers. On to our third match, which is the tag team bout between Orton, Riddle versus Cedric and Shelton. And you know who's going to win this one. That's right, it's Randy Orton and Earth's sexiest mongoose, Matt Riddle. So again, of course, everybody in this match is a really great worker. I'd say there are a number of things I liked about this bout. Riddle starting off strong with 2 double gut wrench suplexes. Always like to see a nice suplex. And another thing that I like to see is wrestlers working on limbs, attacking limbs, right? Attacking Riddle's leg, working over his leg, right? Really cool stuff. Eventually, Riddle makes a hot tag to Orton. Orton's in there with Shelton, who's the legal man. Cedric tries to hit him from the top rope, but out of nowhere, the RKO lays out Cedric. Orton takes Shelton into the corner. Riddle gets tagged in, hits his floating bro, and pins Shelton. And you knew it was going to happen. Orton and Riddle beat Cedric and Shelton. And it was another good match. Another decent tag match. I like the spot there where Riddle tries to hug Orton after the match. And actually good character work here. I think they've hit something here with Randy Orton working with Riddle, and the Riddle character works really well with a consistent person. I think, or I should say, it could potentially work very well with a consistent person to play off of, like a straight man to his goofy stoner guy. So I was glad, especially after this match, and the announce team kind of called it out, right? You would expect Randy Orton to hit Riddle with an RKO after they tagged together, and it didn't happen here. So maybe this will be a longer-term storyline between these two. Like I said, I like the chemistry between these two. And I think when you have such a goofy character, like the way Riddle is, if you have a straight man to play off of, then that character works a lot better. The fourth match of the evening is another 6-person tag match. We have Asuka, Naomi, and Lana versus Shayna, Jax, and Rhea Ripley. So there's some nice wrestling at the beginning between Asuka and Shayna. These are two that I always like to see work together, and I would like to see more of them, because these are probably two of my favorite workers in WWE, and it's always fun to see them together. But predictably, Mandy and Dana come out and interfere in this match. They throw a pail of water at Shayna, and then Nia comes out to confront them, and clumsy Nia, she slips twice in the water. She slips twice. Lana gets a couple of near pinfalls against Rhea, but ultimately, Jax wins the match for her team when she hits Lana with a leg drop and gets the pin. Backstage, Rose and Brooke get reprimanded by Daddy DeVille, and she decides to punish Mandy by putting her in a match with Charlotte Flair tonight. But now we get Alexa's Playground, and we get Alexa giving us kind of a guided evil meditation for a bit with Lily, and telling us we could get our own Lily. And I ain't gonna lie, I played along with this while I was watching, and I enjoyed it. And of course there's she sets up a peaceful image in our minds, and we get some nice serene imagery of ponds and lily pads and things like that, and then we get a Lily jump scare in there. As I've said before, I always enjoy watching Alexa Bliss do this character. I don't know where they're going with this whole thing ultimately, but I like these segments. So in our fifth match, Charlotte Flair versus Mandy Rose, and Eddie Oringo is the referee for this. And so rather predictably, Charlotte goes over. She complains at certain points that Eddie he's counting pins too slowly, but ultimately she ends up getting the pinfall after the natural selection. In our sixth and final match of the evening, our main event is Drew McIntyre versus Braun Strowman. And especially the first part of this match was pretty fun. It's pretty exciting, right? These are two big men. It's a big hoss match, but they're also showing a lot of agility, high activity in the ring, especially before Lashley and MVP came out. So it was fairly decent. I mean, I'm not crazy about the finish here, but there are a couple of obviously cool high spots. Drew's overhead suplexes on Braun, the Claymore attempt, which it gets countered by Braun, and then the powerbomb, Drew's spine buster, all really cool stuff. Of course, Lashley and MVP don't want Braun to win, because then that means in a triple threat, that's a much tougher match for Lashley to win, right? Because Braun could beat Drew, or Drew could beat Braun, and if either of those things happen, then Lashley would lose the title. And if you ever played a WWE game and one of their damn storylines where you get put in a triple threat match, they are a pain in the ass. They're a pain in the ass, those matches. So Lashley and MVP, they try to help Drew out. They save him from the power slam, but then Mason T-Bar come out and distract Drew, and so Braun's able to hit him with the finish and get the win. So that's right, at Backlash, It's going to be a triple threat between Braun, Drew, and champion Bobby Lashley. So I have to say, overall, this was a pretty decent episode of Raw. This is a pretty decent episode of Raw, and it almost felt strange in a way because all of the character work, which now I'm not necessarily a fan of every plot line or every storyline that's going on right now on Raw, but at least every backstage segment and every match did something to further their ongoing rivalries. So it was pretty decent, especially for Raw, and so it was kind of an easy watch this week for me, especially when you compare it to last week. There weren't, for me, any real overall standout types. There weren't any overall real standout matches. There were people that I enjoyed, and there were some high energy tag matches in there, especially the 6-man with the New Day and Damian Priest. Also, the main event was also pretty decent. So it was a pretty good, especially for Raw episode. Not a whole lot of things to say. It's just the general, predictable sort of interference things that go on. I mean, I know you want to keep your wrestlers looking strong, especially your sort of main event wrestlers. But, you knew once the triple threat stipulation was put in place for Braun and Drew, you knew Braun was going to win. But you also knew that he wasn't going to win cleanly because they don't want to make Drew look bad. So there was going to be some shenanigans going on in there, and it's just the typical thing where wrestlers are they just can't put ringside people out of their periphery when they're in a wrestling match, which is just such a cliche. And I know it's a long-standing one in wrestling, but to use it so heavily in all of your rivalries, I mean, there's got to be a way to mix it up a little bit. There's got to be a way to put some kind of twist or spin on that if you want to. It's just so, like, it hurts matches, right? It hurts matches. Drew loses by a DQ finish or a count-out finish, and then he loses because he gets distracted by Mason T-Bar, and it doesn't make him look better. The count-out thing was kind of okay because he was like, he almost got back into the ring right after T-Bar, right? So that kind of didn't hurt him that much, but the whole, wrestlers just turning their back on the person they're in the ring with when they know the most devastating move in all of professional wrestling is the roll-up. It's the best move of all time. So don't turn your back on people in the ring. Oh, that's all for tonight. Like I said, I guess this is maybe a boring episode. I mean, a boring episode of this podcast because I don't really have anything extreme to say. Either way, it was a solid episode for WWE Monday Night Raw. I guess while you're here, if you're interested, if you want to know my opinion on the Mortal Kombat movie, I did a review that I released yesterday. So you can check that out if you like Mortal Kombat. And I bet you do, because who doesn't love Mortal Kombat? You know Kofi and Xavier Woods like Mortal Kombat, so they're cool. So you should like that too. So you should go watch that. You should go listen to that Mortal Kombat review. I had to watch that movie. So you should listen to my podcast about it. But as usual, I cannot force you to watch my other videos. I can't even force you to watch this video. You know why? Because I'm not Scorpion. That's right, I'm not Scorpion. I can't throw a kunai into your chest and then pull you closer to me and say, "Get over here!" I can't do that. I mean, I could do that. But I don't know where you are, so I can't, locate you, and I don't have a rope. I don't have a rope dart long enough to throw that. Plus, I don't know, you might be a nice person. I might not want to I might not want to abuse you in that way. But if you listen this far, if you feel like you want to, you can leave a comment below, or you can hit the like button. You can even hit the subscribe button there if you want to. But until then, stay strong, stay safe, and be most excellent to each other.
Leo Burke and Hubert Gallant are taking on Rotten Ron Star and Honky.
But on December 4th, Bad News Ellen, because I will never forget what you did to me and the incompetent manager, J.R. Foley.
Kerry Brown.
Let's get down to the business now, Jim David. Let's get down to the real business.
Rotten Ron Star and Honky Tonk Win.
Burke and Gallant tried to get these belts. They cost us a match, but we didn't lose the belts. Burke and Gallant, if you ever want these belts, you're going to have to beat us for them. You understand that? You got to beat us, and we can't be beat. We're the best. Rotten Ron Star owns Vancouver. That's his town.
My town. Nobody, including Bad News Island, Burke, Gallant, or anyone's running us out.